Automation, developing software to test the software is called test automation. That is we are trying to create a software package which is used to test a software application. Okay, automation have several advantages. It saves time. A software can execute test cases faster than human do, right? That is, the time that's saved can be used effectively for test engineers to develop additional test cases to achieve better coverage, perform some eccentric or specialized test like ad hoc testing, perform some extra manual testing. The time saved in automation can also be utilized to develop additional test cases, thereby improving the coverage of testing. So that is the main advantage. Then test automation can free the test engineers from mundane tasks and make them focus on more creative tasks. Example, ad hoc testing require intuition and creativity to test the product for those perspectives that may have been missed out by the uh, planned test cases. If there are too many planned test cases that need to be run manually and adequate automation does not exist, then the test team may spend most of its time in its test execution. Isn't it? Then third, another one important thing is automated test can be more reliable. When an engineer execute a particular test case many times manually, there is a chance for human error, right? But suppose we are doing it in automate mode, automatically we can easily find out the errors. Then automation helping immediate testing. Automation reduces the time gap between development and testing, as scripts can be executed as soon as the product build is ready. Because once the application package is ready, immediately we can run the automation software. It will show the error instead of manually typing and individual test cases and getting the outcome. Then automation can protect an organization against attrition of test engineers. That is, automation can also be used as a knowledge transfer tool to train test engineers on the product, as it has a repository of different tests for the product. Okay. Test automation open up opportunities for better utilization of global resources. In the sense, manual testing requires the presence of test engineers, but automated tests can be run around the clock, 24 hours a day and 7 days a week, right? So automatically, it's going to create more impact. Then certain type of testing cannot be executed without automation. For example, if you want to study the behavior of a system with thousands of users logged in, there is no now manual way of finding the performance of the various users is very difficult. But we can perform this test without using literally without using automation tool. We can't able to do such testing. Then automation means end-to-end, not test execution alone. Automation should consider all activities such as picking up the right product choosing the right configuration, performing installation, running the test, generating various test cases, and generating the right test data, analyzing the results, and filling the defects in the defect repository. When talking about automation, this large picture should always be kept in mind. Okay. Um, Now, this is the automation framework. You can see the diagram so that you can understand. Here we have a test case. Before that, we will see some basic terms. A test case is nothing but it is a sequential steps to execute a test operating on a set of predefined input to produce certain expected output. There are two type of test cases. One is automated test case and manual test case. Manual test case is executed manually, whereas automated test case is executed using automation. When a set of test cases is combined and associated with set of scenarios, they are called test suite. Okay, so these things are represented in the diagram. So this framework just indicate how exactly it happened, where we are creating the script and how exactly we are reporting if any error bugs identified, and exactly how the database is taken from object repository. All kind of stuff is represented in this framework. Okay, now skills needed for automation. So there are different generation of automation. The skills required for automation depends on what generation automation the company is in or decide to be in the near future, whether it is a first generation, second generation, or third generation. So first generation, let's discuss. In the first generation, usually we have record and playback. Record and playback in the sense it avoid the repetitive nature of executing test. Almost all the test tools available in the market have the record and playback feature. A test engineer records the sequence of actions by keyboard characters or mouse clicks, and those recorded scripts are played back later in the same order as they were recorded. But this generation of tool has several disadvantages. The script may contain hard-coded values, thereby making it difficult to perform. The scripts make, difficult to perform general type of test. Okay, when the application changes, all the scripts have to be re-recorded, thereby increasing the test maintenance cost. So that is the main disadvantage of this first generation, that is record and playback. That is, we need a lot of test maintenance cost. Second one is second generation, so that is data driven. This method helps in developing test scripts that generate this set of input conditions and corresponding expected output. This enables the test to be repeated for different input and output conditions. The approach takes so much time and effort when compared with the development of the product. So that is the main drawback. Okay, so much effort and time needed. So we have a third generation. So third generation is nothing but it's the action driven one. This technique enabled a layman to create automated tests. There are no input and expected output condition required for running this test. That is the specialty. All actions that appear on the applications are automatically tested based on a generic set of controls defined for automation. The set of actions are represented as objects, and these objects are reused. The user needs to specify only the operation, and everything else that is needed for these actions are automatically generated. Hence, automation in the third generation involve two major aspects, that is test case automation and framework design. Okay, now classification of skills for automation. That is what we explained earlier. It's the same thing, first generation, second generation, third generation. So we know first generation is record and playback, second generation is data driven, third one is action driven, isn't it? So in first generation, skills for test case automation is required. Scripting language we should know, and for all three language generation we need scripting language. Okay, similarly skills for test case automation is also required. Record playback tool usage is required only in first generation, but programming language knowledge is enough for second generation and third generation. And in second generation, knowledge of data generation technique should be needed. Similarly, use of the product under test. Now, usage of the product under test. Then in third generation, we need design and architecture of the product under test, because I explained that we need to create a framework, isn't it? Framework design also part of the third generation. Okay, so these are the classification of the skill required for the various test automation generation. Now, what do you mean? We'll see about scope of automation. So identifying the type of testing amenable to automation. In the sense, certain type of tests automatically lend themselves to automation. Stress, reliability, scalability, and performance testing. These type of testing require the test cases to be run from a large number of different machines for an extended period of time, such as 24 hours or 48 hours and so on. Test cases beginning to these testing types become the first candidates for automation. Regression tests are repetitive in nature. These test cases are executed multiple times during the product development phases. Functional test, these kind of tests actually, may require a complex setup and thus require specialized skills which may not be available on an ongoing basis. Automating these once using the expert skill sets can enable using less skilled people to run those tests on an ongoing basis. Okay, now automating areas less prone to change. That is very, very important, because automation should consider those areas where requirements go through lesser or no change. Normally, change in requirement cause scenarios and new features to be impacted, not the basic functionality of the product. So automating areas less prone to change is good one. Then automate tests that pertain to standards. One of the tests that products may have to undergo is compliance to standards. For example, a product providing a JDBC interface should satisfy the standard JDBC set tests. Automating for standard provides a dual advantage. Test suites developed for standards are not only used for product testing, but it can also be used as test tool for the market. Okay, and last scope point is management aspects in automation. So prior to starting automation, adequate effort has to be spent to obtain management commitment. It involves significant effort to develop and maintain automated tools. Obtaining management commitment, that is one important activity, management commitment. Then return to investment, and we aspect to be we have to consider this aspect very seriously. Okay, so these are the points come under scope of automation. Thank you.